When we talk about this offense, though, I think it's more sort of, for me, it's right down the middle where I could see this going well. I could also, to where it sounds like Carr might be, see them getting off to somewhat of a rough start, maybe being last year's defense where it didn't look good at all early. And then by the end of the year, the right pieces arrived and it all sort of came together. I could see that playing out too.
Mm-hmm.
My question, and Nick, I'll start with you on this one, but it's very simple. Based on what you've seen so far, the good and the bad with this Bears offense under new offensive coordinator Shane Waldron, do you feel like the glass is half full or half empty?
I would go half full. I mean, we're seeing so many new pieces, guys in and out, and yet, like I pointed to last time, like we're still seeing some success in 2-minute drills, things like that. But one area that we don't get to really talk about that I think is actually showing signs in the training is the run game. Like we're never able to see what that really can look like, but yet they do have some dynamic players in that backfield. And we know they have guys at the receiver position. It's just going to, you need to see what offensive lines in front of them so you can capitalize on those weapons. But I would definitely go half full. I'm not going to take these, last couple practices and make some grand distinction that this offense is not going to be good because we haven't seen it in training camp. But like it does need to come together. But I'm definitely half full on this offense and what the potential it can be with Caleb Williams at the helm.
It's an interesting comment by Pidge right here. Bears are lucky the front half of the schedule is easier than the back half. I do wonder how that plays out because I almost believe like if you're going to lose, if you're going to start slow, it's almost like let's get our head kicked in by the good teams, and then by the end of it, you start rolling and you're playing teams that you can beat, and the offense is that much better, and that now the wins start piling up. It's going to be, if you're off to a slow start and then you start losing games that you shouldn't lose, maybe you get a whole lot better.
It's going to hurt them.
Hurt them. Right. Now you're playing, whatever. Maybe it's a great Lions team that everyone's expecting, or a very good Green Bay team, and you play a great game, but you lose. So, that which again, for me, if that's how this goes, but the offense gets a whole lot better by the end of the year and you see like Caleb is the dude, it would suck to miss the playoffs again. But I would leave the season like, sweet. They are in the freaking right direction and it, and they're going to pop next year. So I'm just one of a zillion scenarios that could happen.
To give you a comp on that real quick, you're saying it's kind of like if the Texans had lost that game in week 18 last year. Now they won it and they made the playoffs, but remember it came down to the last game. And even if it hadn't gone their way, they could have gone home that night being like, we got our guy in CJ Stroud. And still, we'd still be talking about them the same way.
Yep. And that was against the Jaguars too. That was a pretty ugly game, right?
That was Colts. They played the Colts in week 18. Okay. I believe it was that last Sunday night game, right? With the playoffs on the line.
Right.
If I'm remembering that all correctly. And the Colts were the team that went home. Unless I'm forgetting something there, but I'm pretty sure that's the case. But anyway, Greg, where are you on this with glass half full, glass half empty?
Yeah, I like this. I definitely am glass half full, and that's probably no surprise to me. There's no reason to not be glass half full in the first year of an offense, first year quarterback. You shouldn't be sounding off any kind of alarms. And I think maybe the conversation of Carm talking about whether or not they're going to be ready week 1 or how they'll fare in the first half of their schedule, which does have some favorable games on paper, always hard to tell that at this point of the year, is a different conversation, wins and losses versus where this offense is at and how we should feel. And as I mentioned in our best and worst, I'm seeing a willingness to throw with anticipation in windows, whether the play is complete or not. I mean, if we're talking about, everybody keeps wanting to ask, what's the difference between Justin and Caleb? What's the difference between last year's camp and this year's camp? I mean, that's like the biggest difference is Caleb Williams has the willingness to throw with anticipation into windows before the player is there. And Justin, more times than not, had to wait for the player to be open and turn around for him to let go of the football. On top of that, we've talked about it a million times. Caleb Williams, his ability to throw on the move is impressive. At all 3 levels. He's got the little touch throws on the move over the linebacker's head on the sidelines into the red zone for a touchdown. Feet didn't get in bounds. He's had throws on the move where he rockets it to Tyler Scott, leading him with a perfect ball placement. Tyler Scott called it a very catchable ball that Caleb Williams throws. We've seen great back shoulder throws, his post routes. He throws with conviction. He's got a hell of a fastball. As I said in Best of Words, the way he climbs the pocket certainly is of note. So all these things don't happen play after play after play, but you can see, I think they're even more than just flashes, a consistency in some of these things that he's doing. Now, with everything that's going on around him with the offensive line injuries and trying to learn through cadence and the development of the offense, I still think there's a long ways to go. But at the same time, I am highly encouraged by what I'm seeing. Tyler Scott today had a nice day, I thought, catching the football. Rome Odunze had a nice day, especially early on, making some nice plays. Keenan Allen and DJ Moore speak for themselves. Gerald Everett is going to be someone that surprises Bears fans, that I don't think that haven't watched him, how good he actually is. I didn't realize it until I saw him this year at camp. Cole Kmet's kind of the one we're kind of waiting for to really break into this and get involved, because there's just one football. But there's just overall, looking at it on its surface, I know it's a long way to go. I'm not getting ahead of my skis, but the things that I'm encouraged about show me that they got the right guy in Caleb Williams.
And just quickly to answer your hope for me, half full all day. I mean, I'm not, but what was interesting to me today is like, they didn't have a good day today, and I made it my worst. But I didn't watch practice day like, this sucks. They're terrible today. It just felt like a standard day right now. That's not great. Like that's just to me, this is what it's been so far, which is fine. But it wasn't like, it didn't stand out, because there was some good, there was some bad, and that's what we've seen basically all camp so far.
It depends on what means the most to you, right, Carm? I mean, the 2-minute drill was pitiful. It was probably their worst 2-minute drill of all of training camp. They were 3 and out. Not just Caleb Williams had a intentional grounding where he threw it out of bounds as the defense sniffed out a screen pass. So he just chucked it out of bounds. He gets an intentional grounding. They move it back. And that entire series got blown up. DeMarcus Walker's, barking at him coming off the field that you guys ain't shit, but there were other moments within today's practice. DeAndre Swift continues to flash in the run game, as Nick mentioned. They had a really nice run up the middle where DeAndre Swift cut back. And as I said earlier, with this being one of the more physical first team rep practices I've seen, there was I think a fair simulation of the run game to an extent today. The slip screens to DeAndre Swift, he catches these things. He's kind of like Spider-Man, right, Nick? Like the way he can grab the ball with one hand, bring it in up top. He's done more than a few of those this year. And the wide receiver talent just speaks for itself. So we've seen these things, and I don't know how you feel, because I know you've been kind of hard on him so far at camp this year, Carm, but I thought Tyler Scott had a really nice day today. I thought he showed, a good ability to catch with hands today.
Yeah, I'll be honest. I didn't notice Tyler as much today as I have in other days, which is probably a good thing. But I think. Listen, I'm positive.
Well, let me.
But I'm not positive it's going to hit right now.
Nick, I want to read this quote from Shane Waldron today, because I do think this is one of the reasons to. I mean, I could easily sit here and make the argument that it's half full just because of Caleb.
Sure.
That is my argument right there in one sentence. That would make a lot of sense and answer the question. But I do think that what we're seeing and what we're hearing matters, especially, and I say this a lot, like what I hear from the coaches, I need to see it with my eyes. That's why I value August so much. That's why I value these practices so much, because once we get in the season, we don't get to watch practice. So they can say whatever the hell they want. We'll hear Mark Trestman say over and over again, we had a great week of practice, and they come out and they lose by 400 points, right? And then you're like, well, I don't think that's probably how this is working. But when it's August and we actually get to see practice, I can buy this quote from Shane Waldron, who was asked today, what are you seeing from Caleb that leads you to believe he is close to figuring this all out? And Shane said, I think for us, when we watch him go through his reads and his progressions, I think going to where the ball should go is happening way more times than not. And some of the things that haven't worked out have been from just a near miss here, or an angle that, wasn't feeling the right way there. Okay, got it. On to the next one. But he has been doing a good job reading with his feet, sticking within the progression, recognizing coverage structures. So seeing all those things is what really gives you the confidence moving forward. And I do think that a lot of that I'm seeing on the field, even when the play's not necessarily finishing with a catch, which, yes, at the end of the day, that has to be how it all works once this thing all comes together. But, I think we've seen Caleb, and even saw some of it on Hard Knocks last night, be very intentional in what he's seeing with the coverages. I like his footwork. I like most times where he's going with the ball. And so, Nick, I can buy what Shane Waldron's saying there.
Yeah, Adam, I had that quote pulled up because we need to talk about that one, because I think when we're watching Caleb Williams, whether that play is successful or not, it doesn't usually seem like he's confused on where he needs to look, when he needs to come off of a progression and go to the next guy. He's doing that, and sometimes windows are just not open, even whether the guys in secondary are in or out on that defense. It looks like he knows where he needs to go. And then if he doesn't, he is scrambling. And we know that is a thing that is a positive in Caleb Williams' game. So I completely agree with what Shane Waldron's saying there. And yes, there have been some near misses. Have there been some inaccurate throws? Of course, that's happened too. But in terms of just like looking at Caleb and seeing, does he know this offense, or is he getting to know this offense better each day? It does seem like that, even if the results are not a reception, or if the ball is not moving, he's going through his reads. That is a positive in itself in every single practice, even if the ball isn't moving, completions are not being made. So I can buy what Shane Waldron's selling there.
To your point, one of my favorite plays of today was, a drop back, really nice drop, steps up to the pressure, slides over to the right. He's going through his progressions, and he checks it down to DeAndre Swift, who was open in the right flat. And DeAndre took it up for a good 10, 15 yards or so. Like, that's an example of that.
Yeah, it's a great example. And I saw that same exact play. Nick and I were talking together, and when that play happened, and I said right there in the moment, Caleb knew it was there the entire time, but he kept his eyes downfield to try to see if something else was going to open up. And it wasn't until the timing and the footwork told him, okay, I got to dump this off now, that he finally did.
Look at this. We weren't even sitting together, and we were symbiotic with our geniusness, and then Carm was doing whatever Carm was doing.
I was actually taking that note down too from Adam, sitting right there to bring up. I'm glad that you guys just organically did it.
We all silly like the mayor.